Isaiah 13 through 15. Well, our story includes a very famous text, Isaiah 14. This is also a good illustration as we go through this to see how translations over time have really influenced our theology in the Christian tradition. Well, the story is about Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and Isaiah is telling the king of Babylon that someday the true sovereign of the universe, Yahweh, will bring this king to humility. And now it was a tradition or an understanding in the ancient world that a king of a nation represented his God, sometimes even being a physical representative of that God on earth. And so kings often had a very high view of themselves. The stories or the illustrations that Isaiah gives are several. Let me mention three. Isaiah 14:5, the Lord has broken the staff of the wicked, broken the scepter of the ruler. So one illustration in 14:5 is that Nebuchadnezzar's scepter will be broken. 14:8, indeed the cypress trees rejoice over you, and the cedars of Lebanon saying, since you were cut down. These huge trees of Lebanon, the illustration in 14:8 is that Nebuchadnezzar, like a massive tree, will be cut down. Well, here's a famous one in 14 verses 13 through 15. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. Stars often in the Bible are picturesque of divine beings. I will also sit on the Har Moed. Now, I mentioned this back in our Psalm 82 video, that there is of all the divine beings that have ever been created, the most powerful ones are considered part of this divine assembly. The phrase Har means mountain, Moed means appointed assembly. So let me read it again. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of the assembly. In other words, I will be part of the great assembly of divine beings that even is part of God's throne room. On the farthest sides of the north, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Notice he doesn't use the name Yahweh, but I will be like the highest God of all time. Yet, Isaiah continues, you will be brought down to Sheol, the word for pit, down to the lowest depths of the pit. This is in 14:15. So you will think of yourself in the highest possible light, but yet by the time it's over, you will be brought to the lowest part of the earth. So three quick examples. Of course, the third most famous, illustrating the humiliation of Nebuchadnezzar. One more, and it's very related to this third one, is where he says in 14:12, Isaiah does, how you are fallen from heaven, O Hillel ben Shakar. Let's talk about that. Hillel ben Shakar. The words in Hebrew mean shining one or light holder, son of the dawn. Shining one, son of the morning. This is usually understood in the ancient world to be the planet Venus, who is commonly that last bright light in the morning before the sun came up. So let me read it again. How you have fallen. Notice that story that we're telling about Nebuchadnezzar falling. So using another illustration, how you, because you consider yourself one of the stars or divine beings, how you are fallen from heaven, O Hillel ben Shakar, son of the morning, how you are cut down to the ground, you who weakened the nations. So again, the picture is Nebuchadnezzar, who considers himself this bright shining star in the heavens. He's going to be cut down. Now the tradition or the history of this word right here has been interesting. When the Bible is translated from Hebrew into Greek, the word in Greek is phosphoros, shining, light holder. And again, that's translated into Venus in some extra biblical texts. When the Bible is then later in the 300s translated into Latin, the word for light holder, lucent is the general word in Latin for light. Light holder is Lucifer. Okay? So in about 300 AD, well after the Bible is written, we have the introduction of a Latin term, Lucifer, after, again, phosphorus, and, of course, the Hebrew word Hallel. Well, do you see what happens is, and you can predict this happening because you probably know your theology if you're a Christian in your background. When the earliest English Bibles were written, beginning with Wycliffe in the 1300s, instead of translating this word now into just the English word light holder, he transliterated the word and capitalized the L. He made a word, he invented a word, Lucifer, that became a proper noun in his Bible. And that practice continued all the way through 1611, the King James Version. Later versions that we have today, so if you pick up an ESV or a Net Bible, for example, they will not have the word Lucifer there because we know that was an invention of the Latin language. What happened was then is in our tradition, Lucifer became an equivalent of a later description of a being called Satan. And Lucifer thus becomes Satan in the story of some theological traditions. Well, what should we have done? Obviously, kept this a small l. Realize that if you yell Lucifer into the heavens, nobody answers. That's not the name of a divine being. It's a Latin term that stands for Venus. What's interesting also is that in 2 Peter 1:19, Jesus is called Phosphoros. Jesus is called Venus. He is called the bright and morning star.